I'm an Associate Director of the International Center for Law and Religion Studies. We okay? I'm waiting for the stream. Tell me when. Yeah? Okay. We have some special thank yous as we close our symposium. First, we'd like to thank our student volunteers. There are so many of them. We especially like to thank we would like to thank the executive committee of students who have worked tirelessly for a number of weeks to plan and carry out many of the logistical aspects of this conference. We need to mention in a special way the stellar help of the students who have come from Hawaii, from our sister institution, Brigham Young University, Hawaii. We want all of our students to stand and be acknowledged. Thank you to our students. We need to thank as well our interpreters. There are about 50 of them. Then they're interpreting in more languages than the UN has in their meetings. They can hear you, they can't see, or you're not seeing them because they're in another room, but we want to thank them for all of the work they've done. We thank the production and technical team and the communications team, including both professionals and students and other volunteers who are assisting them. They're too numerous to mention by name, but they've helped behind the scene to make this symposium a success. We thank the incredible staff and the professors and the dean of the law school who have facilitated this event taking place in the law school. We're grateful for the law school. We want to thank the members of the International Advisory Council. You have met many of them, perhaps. They have a white tag below their name badge. The members of the International Advisory Council include many who give of their time, but particularly of their means. We have a tradition in the United States that higher education, university education, is supported by the donations of generous people. Our International Advisory team has provided the means so that we can all be here. Without them, literally, this would not be taking place. So we want to thank them, and if some of them are here, would you please stand so you can be acknowledged? Finally, we want to thank all of you for coming. This has been exceptional. We know that many of you have sacrificed to get here. You've taken time away from your families and from your work. So thank you to each one of you who has come. As is customary with this symposium, as we close it, we want to hear some brief reflections from some of the people who have come, some of you delegates. We're grateful for those who will participate with us now. I'll just introduce them and then I'll let them come up one at a time to share brief remarks. We will hear first from Pilar Bosca Chillida, who is the director of the General Directorate of Religious Affairs of the government of the autonomous city of Buenos Aires in Argentina. She will be followed, I think we've got Dr. Jacinto. Yes, Jacinto dos Santos, the advisor to the Deputy Prime Minister from the Ministry of Rural Development and Community Housing of East Timor. Then we have Professor Abdullah Waise, President of the Islamic Scholar Union of the Kurdistan region. Next, we will hear from Michaela Moravčíková, researcher, lecturer, and vice dean of the Faculty of Law of Trnava University in Slovakia. Finally, we will hear from Judge Ilvin Mugeta from the High Court of Tanzania, from the Arusha region of Tanzania. We'll go in that order, please.
Bueno, buenas tardes
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to have been given this opportunity to share this reflection with all of you. First, to thank especially on behalf of the government of the city of Buenos Aires to be able to participate of this symposium. Without a doubt, it's a unique opportunity where we all gather together. We share ideas and we reflect from different point of views with some common ground, with some differences when we speak about religious freedom. Everything that's been lived here made me think in different challenges that we deal with, academia, administration, government administration, also as religious leaders regarding religious freedom, and thought about this, sharing something. The Archbishop from Buenos Aires, he coined this. He was first known as Cardinal Bergoglio, then Pope Francis, and he said about conversations of white glove, some bad conversations take freedom from people, freedom of conscience. When some people disguise their opinion with subtle opinions, and they tend to damage religious freedom. Maybe because of this digital area that we're living in, this virtual area, for example, the fake news, the disinformation that those bring to us, the manipulation of data, which are presented out of context or damaging comments regarding other people's beliefs or ways of worship. Symposium is a clear example that there's other ways, other realities that can be transformative, a place to share ideas, where to network with others. The fact of having shared not only presentations, great presentations, but also some intimate conversations and with deep religiosity, like funeral of President Nelson. And I really think that we're given the opportunity of sharing that, which is very intimate to those who profess that faith, the Church of Jesus Christ. We see that there's other ways that we should pursue to move forward and to pursue and watch over for freedom of liberty, freedom of conscience and religion. I would like to thank the love that we received from volunteers, students, translators, moderators, of course, the organizers, and by BYU, which opened their doors to us. Thank you very much to everyone for having shared these wonderful days together. I leave full with a wealth of knowledge, not just academic wealth, but also from the heart. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ, Excellencies, leaders of the Brigham University, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ. Good afternoon. When I was involved with the struggle of Timor-Leste for independence, we feel like hopeless. And then sometimes we say, the hope of the hopeless. A esperança dos que não têm esperança. But then, after a long period of fighting, we got our independence. And then we say, goodbye conflict and welcome development. So I used to do a lot of human rights speaking tour around the world. I went back to East Timor. I just want to focus to work. But then I got this opportunity. I can join and be here at present of you. To fight for freedom of religion, not as an individual, but as a collective. Because you are going to against the powerful of the country, of the state. So we must unite all our strength, all the energy, and to fight for freedom of religion, it means that to fight for the hope, for the faith, human value, courage, reflection and meditation, as we say, to love the others, as we love ourselves, tolerance, reconciliation, forgiveness, charity, human dignity, sacrifice. So many people, they want freedom, and not many people are willing to fight for the freedom. Because to get the freedom, there is a cost, there is a price. And the Timor pay a price of the freedom for 200,000 people died because they want to get freedom and independence. If we want to fight for freedom of religion, we have to commit, we have to dedicate and consistent with our principle that we are fighting for fundamental rights, the rights of human being, human value. So let us proclaim together we can fight for freedom of the religion, freedom of tolerance, reconciliation, and promote this value in the world, around the world. And then must we unite all the strengths, all the energy, all the skills and knowledge for this fighting. We can't fight as individual, but to fight as a collective. Thank you very much.
In the name of God, most merciful, most gracious, peace be upon you. Can everyone hear the translation? Thank you to God who has given us success these last couple of days to exchange ideas and perspectives and to work together in order to discover more about the hindrances that stand in the way of religious freedom. Today, we end the works of this conference after we have exchanged opinions, whether it was opinions where we agreed or disagreed, but whatever we do, we must make religious freedom a bridge between all religions. All of us are brothers and sisters, regardless of our differences, regardless of our differences in ethnicity, religion, nationalities, languages. For this region, we must search for the commonalities between religions and to work together to emphasize the commonalities, the spiritual relationship between the human and the Creator, treating each other kindly, good values. All of these things are things that all religions share, and it's valuable. And religion's purpose is to strengthen these values. So we have to work together to strengthen what we share. This earth is like a garden. Let's look. A garden consists of different kinds of roses. Each has its own color or taste or smell, but as a collective, as a group, it makes up a garden and it makes the garden beautiful. So all religions are like roses within a garden, which is the earth. Then we have to preserve these roses, which means that we have to preserve these religions. Human identity is what makes us one. We are here all come from different religions, languages, but we are all humans. We all have a human identity. Then we have to preserve the human identity, which is the main reason to support religious freedom and spreading it. We have to be true representatives for our religions. Each one of us, especially religious leaders, represent the religions. If, as a religious leader, you make a mistake, reflects negatively on the religion he believes in. And all of us as religious leaders are agents, and God will ask us in the end about how we carried that stewardship. All religions came to preserve humanity, to serve humanity, and to strengthen relationships amongst humans. Humans were before religion. Humans were created, and then they started choosing religions. If a human is destroyed, then what's the reason for religion? So we have to preserve humanity, and by this way, we can preserve religion. We have to work together to remove hindrances that stop in the way of religious freedom. All societies have hindrances, and they differ from one country to another, from one region to another, because of international relations and relations between countries. So we have to look for the hindrances and talk to the politicians, talk to the government officials on how we can remove these hindrances so that followers of all religions everywhere can enjoy religious practice in the best way possible. We have to work with our governments to deepen a sense of citizenship. When a citizen feels that spirit of citizenship, the coexistence, peaceful coexistence happens between all members of religions. Sometimes, because of lack of citizenship, that leads to fundamentalism and radicalism, and that leads to negative impacts on religious freedom. Thank you for listening, and thank you again to Brigham University. Thank you to this very good university who invited us, and we wish to meet you again. And next time we will report that we have made much more progress in religious freedom, and may peace be upon you.
Dear colleagues, sisters and brothers, if I will be somewhere else, I will be thinking that Gary is making jokes, asking me, address you these words from this place, someone with weakest English and strange Eastern European accent. But I'm here, where I feel to be accepted, where I'm like at home, and where I know that my voice matters. I would like to thank you for this symposium, but not only. I would like to address these words to the people from the center. Thank you for organizing these wonderful events, not only here in Provo, but everywhere in the globe we can imagine, and also at the places where is it not so easy, where is it quite complicated. Thank you that you bring hope for countries where religious freedom is the goal, where is it complicated and difficult to realize. Thank you for all your effort for my country, for countries in my part of the Europe, for your long-term cooperation. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Cole, for all your effort, for all your resources you invested for more than 20 years. I remember personally to our countries. We are extremely grateful, and if now in some countries it seems like it's not the best point of the development of state-church relations, I will come back home from this place with big hope that things will go right way, and next time we will refer about big progress. Thank you very much for your long-term friendship and for all your care of us. Thank you very much.
I am honored for the opportunity to make a reflection about my experience at the symposium in this closing session. How do I start? I will start with a story. It is about my confession. In 2023, I and my wife were in Cardiff, Wales, attending the annual conference of the Commonwealth Magistrates and Judges Association. At the closing of the first day of the conference, we walked the streets of Cardiff for shopping. On the way, we met two young men preaching religion. I ordinarily ignore such people, so I moved on. However, my wife insisted that we should listen to them, and the young men said they are elders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and for the first time I heard from them about the Book of Mormon and the prophet Joseph Smith. Being a Roman Catholic by faith, I hardly understood what they talked about. For the next 5 days, however, I decided to spend 1 hour each day to study with them the Book of Mormon. Unfortunately, I left unconvinced of everything they taught me. They graciously gave me 2 copies of the Book of Mormon, which I shelved together with my other books at home to date. I came to this conference on invitation of the International Center for Law and Religious Studies of the BYU Law, completely unaware of the relationship with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints I heard about in Cardiff. Notwithstanding the lessons from the presentations made at this symposium, has coincidentally resonated well with what I heard in Cardiff. I hardly believe nor easily dismiss coincidences. But this coincidence has come with lessons. I have learned one big lesson, that our perception and judgment of others' faith and religion is more often than not based on the fear of the unknown. It is therefore important to take time to learn and understand about others' faith and religion. I have also learned that as humankind and a people, we are distinct and separate, but we are interconnected by our inner purpose of being good to others. Therefore, we can live peacefully by cherishing our diversity and protecting one another's freedom of worship. Having learned such lessons, what I shall do upon getting back home is to retrieve my copy of the Book of Mormon and read it to further understand the Mormon's faith. I shall also say thank you to my wife for insisting to listen to the elders in Cardiff. I thank the organizers for bringing us here, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you to each of these distinguished panelists. It's been delightful and fulfilling to us as the people who help with this symposium to hear their remarks. Thank you very much. It is now my pleasure to introduce our director, Brett G. Scharfs, who is the Rex E. Lee Professor of Law and Director of our center. He will be followed by Elizabeth A. Clark, the Associate Director of the center and the Chair of the organizing committee for this symposium. At the conclusion of their remarks, this meeting will be finished and we can make our way to the hotel. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's not a time for long speeches, but having brought so many of you from so far, it would be remiss for me to conclude without saying a few words, primarily of gratitude. You'll recall that at the beginning of our gathering, I quoted from Eleanor Roosevelt's speech 10 years after the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where she spoke about the most important human rights institution being those that come from small places. And I talked about Provo, Utah being one of those small places, and the hope that the conversations about human rights and human dignity that came from this place would be of consequence. And I'm grateful to say that I believe they have been. When Eleanor Roosevelt and the committee that drafted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights began their work, the first draft, the Secretary's draft by John Humphreys, was hundreds of pages long, and the drafters got stuck. And it was P.C. Chang, pictured here, who suggested that they refocus their efforts by remembering that the preamble of the Charter of the United Nations spoke in a very direct and powerful way about reaffirming faith in human rights and in the dignity and worth of the human person. And somehow, by focusing their attention on human dignity, the drafting process was able to move forward and to a successful completion that resulted in a 30-article Universal Declaration of Human Rights that can be printed on one sheet of paper. And the significance of human dignity is evident in the preamble of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states, whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. And so human dignity is quite literally the first foundational principle of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And when you get to the operational provisions of the UDHR, Article 1 begins, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. So once again, we see that it is the dignity of all people that is the beginning principle for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And so human rights do begin in small places, so small that they cannot be seen on any map of the world. but they also begin with the simple, basic, fundamental truth that all human beings have dignity and worth. And it is in understanding that fundamental truth that the possibility of not just human rights, but of human flourishing and living together in peace and harmony really becomes possible. What I'd like to do as we conclude is I would like to share another text from Eleanor Roosevelt. This is her nightly prayer. And as I read this with you, I have to confess that my nightly prayer sometimes pales in comparison to the profound and beautiful nature of Eleanor Roosevelt's nightly prayer. It begins, "Our Father, who has set a restlessness in our hearts and made us all seekers after that which we can never fully find, forbid us to be satisfied with what we can make of life." Here I think Eleanor articulates something which we might describe as divine discontent. That feeling of what we are compared with what we have the capacity to become. As I read these words, as I was preparing these remarks, to my mind's eye was brought the words of the founding prophet of our religious tradition, Joseph Smith, who said, "A man filled with the love of God is not content with blessing his family alone, but ranges through the whole world, anxious to bless the whole human race." This from a man, of course, who never left the United States. Eleanor's prayer goes on and says, "Draw us from base content and set our eyes on far-off goals." I was once asked by a friend what the mission is of the center, and I explained it. And he asked me to explain it again, and I did. And he asked me to explain it again, and I did. And he said, "Tell me in one sentence." And I was able to tell him in 4 words: religious freedom for all. And that's it. That is the far-off goal. And Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, "Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others, and in public or private to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance." That is the far-off goal. Eleanor's prayer continues, "Keep us at tasks too hard for us, that we may be driven to thee for strength." For the last 8 years or so, in partnership with many others, our center has been focused on human dignity. One of the manifestations of this has been the Punta del Este Declaration for human dignity for everyone, everywhere. This is a task that is too hard for us, and it has driven us not only into the partnership with others in all corners of the world, where we have endeavored to learn about African perspectives and Islamic perspectives and Asian perspectives and Oceanian perspectives and indigenous perspectives on human dignity, but we've been driven to our knees to seek strength from the divine to keep us moving forward as we strive in partnership with others to promote the values of human dignity for everyone, everywhere. Eleanor's prayer continues, deliver us from fretfulness and self-pitying. As someone inclined to melancholy, I know that it's possible to be fretful and self-pitying. And one of our projects has been to seek points of light, views of many different people and their perspectives on human dignity for everyone everywhere as ways of lifting us and lifting our eyes upwards for the illumination that comes when we learn from each other, listen to each other, and look into each other's eyes. Eleanor's prayer continues, make us sure of the good we cannot see and of the hidden good in the world. We live at a time, surely, that if we are captivated by the headlines, if we are captivated by the streams that come out of our TikTok feeds, our social media feeds, our choose your social media platform, we're going to be discouraged. But there is a lot of good in the world that is beneath the headlines, that is hidden. And this gathering has been a place where we have been thinking about and learning about the many ways that you collectively and us individually have been building paths to human flourishing. We have been made aware of the good we cannot see and of the hidden good in the world. Eleanor's prayer continues, open our eyes to simple beauty all around and our hearts to the loveliness men hide from us because we do not try to understand them. Lately, we've been thinking a lot about the virtues and values of religious freedom. We think of these as habits of the head. If we inculcate cultures where religious freedom is valued, we will train up people who will be curious, open-minded, tolerant, who will seek truth. We will cultivate children and grandchildren who have habits of the heart, including reverence, faith, hope, charity, humility, and kindness. And we will cultivate individuals who have habits of the hand, including inclinations to service, helpfulness, and generosity. We must think of religious freedom not just as a right, not just as a responsibility, but we must increasingly think about the cultures that are encouraged when we cultivate religion and religious freedom as virtues and values that are important to building societies where human flourishing is possible. Eleanor's prayer ends with these words, save us from ourselves and show us a vision of a world made new. One of the first things I learned as the apprentice of Cole Durham is that one of the things we are constantly doing in our work is we are creators. And what we are creating is worlds. The social worlds, the political worlds, the cultural worlds, and the religious worlds that we inhabit. And we underestimate the importance of our work as creators. And it is that thought with which I want to conclude today, that the work we're doing is important, and we shouldn't underestimate the significance of the difference we can make in the worlds that we build, the paths that we forge, and the partnerships that we build. As you know, we have a few things to share with you on your way out. We have these books, The Dignity and International Human Rights Law. I think we have a few of those left if you haven't picked one up already. And we also have the 25th anniversary book. If you can bear to put one more thing in your luggage, please pick one up as our gift to you. We're grateful to have you here to help us commemorate this very important anniversary in the life of our center. And as you go home, please take with you our best wishes and our blessings, and we hope that we will be able to continue building paths of flourishing for the next 25 years and onwards. God bless us, everyone. Thank you.
Good evening. I realize I'm the only thing between you and your dinner, so I will be short. So grateful to have all of you here. You probably noticed the cover for the program this year. It's pretty simple, but evocative. I liked it. But as I've looked at it over and over again on screens today and yesterday and so forth, it's reminded me of a different picture that's made with words. This comes from our scripture, the Book of Mormon, that we use in addition to the Bible, but this is a vision given to a prophet. And it starts with you in darkness for many hours, which has got to be frightening. The prophet, Lehi, prays for mercy. And then he sees a field with a tree. And somehow he knows that the fruit of that tree was desirable to make one happy. This is flourishing at its best, right? And so Lehi goes and he tastes the fruit, and he says it's sweeter than he has ever tasted, and fills his soul with exceedingly great joy. And so he does what probably most of us would do, right? He looks around and tries to find his family. He wants them to taste it too. And while he's looking around, he sees a path that winds its way to the tree. And he sees numberless concourses, or crowds of people moving their way toward the tree. Probably feels a little bit like an airport or a football game during World Cups, right? But as these people are moving towards the tree, towards this joy, towards this happiness, a mist of darkness comes and people start to wander off and get lost. Well, there's more to the story, but I'll leave you in your suspense. No, I'm not going to get back to the rest of it, but I'll come back to that in a minute. This morning during the discussion, Dr. Husna Ahmad asked, when God asks what we did for those in our world, what will we say? That struck me. And Pastor Rampoñez similarly asked, what else can we do? So, what else can we do? I like the comment Lord Rook made about working in political channels and religious channels. And I think we're all here because we see the value of both. Some people see only the political channel, some people see only the religious. But there are ways that we can accomplish things both ways, right? We see in the political channel how groups and individuals can contribute to policy or security or society or be advocates for those who need it most. We see ways we can care for the world. We can see the value of religious freedom. But in religious channels, we also talked today and yesterday at having multi-faith organizations and discussions about how we can work together to obtain or to use the freedom of religion that we do have, to use it to increase religious literacy, to educate on domestic violence, to care for the environment, any one of a number of almost infinite number of needs that we have in this world of ours. But as I wrap up, I just want to suggest that there's one more channel. That when it comes down to it, probably has more impact than any other. And that's the channel of the individual soul. I think this is underlying the statement that you may have heard today during the funeral that President Russell M. Nelson taught. He said, brothers and sisters, we can literally change the world. One person and one interaction at a time. How? By modeling how to manage honest differences of opinion with mutual respect and dignified dialogue. We don't pretend that we don't agree, we don't avoid discussions, but we find ways to manage differences with mutual respect and dignified dialogue, right? This is a one person changing the world through their own soul, their own being, who they are, how they carry themselves, how they interact with others, right? We can only change the world one person at a time or one interaction at a time to the extent that we have some light to share. You may have seen as you've gone on campus, little flags that President Reese mentioned Sunday night. This is Brigham Young University's 150th anniversary. And I know for many of you that doesn't seem very long at all. But out here in Utah, for us, it's an august occasion. But the theme that is running through all the anniversary events this year is to share gifts of light. The gifts of light we've been given, that we have a responsibility to share. And thinking of that as about individual light and the individual light of our soul, right? This light can illuminate our world, just as the light in the vision that I discussed at the beginning illuminated the darkness and showed where the tree was, the tree. And later we read that the tree represents the love of God, which makes sense. Sweeter than all that is sweet and brings joy. This joy, this peace, is what we want to share with our families. This is what we want to share with the world. This is what all of our religions offer us. The chance to illuminate our souls one at a time, a day at a time, to gather gifts of light and to share them. May we all share the gifts of light we've been given and change the world through our own experiences, through religious traditions, through, as we mentioned, political channels, judicial channels, but of course, most of all, through our own soul. I close with a quote from the 13th century poet Rumi. He said, "If everything around you seems dark, look again. You may be the light." Thank you.